classroom. So we are so excited to have three dynamic Canadian military spouses with us today, and we've got a great audience as well in the second annual Virtual International Women's Day. And you know, the thing about virtual is that it reaches anybody, regardless of their posted location, even if they're in a small place. So today we're going to be learning, we're going to be laughing, we're going to be sharing with these three dynamic women who are going to remind us of the importance of the military family to be mission ready. So welcome to Christine Gordon-Manley, to Captain Retired Kendra Mellish, and to Heather Witherton. Thank you so much for being part of this. So we're going to start in that order with Christine. And Christine Gordon-Manley is a freelance editor, and I'm really excited to have her here because she is part of a reserve family. And I didn't know much about the reserves, about how much they actually sacrifice as a family because they have to be mission ready. And Christine is a co-owner of a writing and editing business called Manly Man Media, and we happen to have her partner, Jamie Manley, sorry, no, which one? Jamie, which one
I'm the man. I'm the man, Margaret.
You're the man, Jamie Man. Manly Man, that's right. Who is going to be introducing our dear guest speaker, Christine. So over to you, my dear.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can do my video just because I love Christine so much, even though
your video is great.
Okay. Yes. Okay, now forgive me because I'm going to be reading off of some notes here, but hello everyone and happy early International Women's Day to everybody here. Now, whenever I first met Christine Gordon-Manley, it was about 7 years ago, and she was a busy working mom of a toddler and the wife of a reservist. Since then, the Manleys have added another member to their family. That one happened to become my little goddaughter, Danielle. And Christine bravely left her secure office job to start a writing and editing business with me to follow her passion and to have a more flexible lifestyle. She's now the very busy mother of two, a fully booked entrepreneur, and she is still the wife of a reservist. Even though he's not actively serving, Christine's husband, Alan, is often away on some sort of tasking or training exercise, sometimes for a weekend, sometimes for a week, sometimes for sort of basically the whole summer. And this schedule of his can change on the dime. I've seen it happen before. And Christine's been forced many times over the years to kind of roll with the punches and to quickly adapt to this, changing her own schedule, putting her own plans aside, and doing what's needed to support his role in the Canadian Armed Forces. It's also worth mentioning that Thursday evenings, Christine's not available for any sort of social events because of her husband's Army schedule. Now, I can't imagine a life without any free Thursdays, but that's what Christine deals with. Now, Christine is quite humble, probably something to do with her Newfoundland roots. And because she's a part-time military spouse, I know she feels like she hasn't had to make the kinds of quote-unquote real sacrifices that full-time Army spouses have to make. However, as the spouse of a reservist, Christine not only has the pressures associated with her husband's role in the military, she also has the unfortunate problem of being misunderstood by those who feel like her husband is pursuing a hobby and not actually training to ensure mission readiness in the event that he should need to jump in and, you know, help to serve and protect the country. I've seen Christine scramble to find childcare, push her own interests aside, and set goals on the shelf for another day to support her husband's work. I've also personally witnessed her resilience and her unwavering commitment to not only her family, but to her own self-care as she works to maintain a sense of Christine, of herself, while supporting her husband's work. As Christine's friend, a business partner, and as a Canadian, I personally thank her, you, Christine, and all other part-time and full-time military spouses for the patience and support required for a lifestyle that is the spouse of a reservist. And that's enough from me, and without further ado, Christine Gordon-Manley.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you beautifully, and we can see you as well, my dear girl. Love those earrings. What are you wearing? They're fun.
These actually were a present from my man, the one with the 2 in.
Nice.
They're pretty, aren't they?
They are. Your working man or your man?
The one with 2 ends.
Okay.
I just want to thank Jamie. I'm like a little teary-eyed here. I was not expecting that introduction, so thank you very much. I am so excited to be here tonight and to chat with all of you fabulous people. And I want to also wish everybody a happy early International Women's Day as well. I know it's technically 2 days away, but I really think we could have a whole week for this. So, yay for us. As introduced, I am a wife of a reservist member, and I'm going to kind of describe that a little bit because, as Margaret reminded me, not everybody is actually familiar with the reservist lifestyle. So I live on PEI, where the majority of military personnel here are reservists. We have a huge reservist population here in Prince Edward Island. And what that means is the military members themselves are actually equally qualified as Reg Force members, at least up to a certain level, because in the event of an emergency, they will be called in to assist as well. So while you have a lot of voluntary types of exercises, they're kind of, voluntary. They're not necessarily optional. Depends on how far up you go. So a glimpse into my lifestyle, yes, Jamie mentioned the Thursday night. And on average, my husband works anywhere from 1 weekend a month to 3 weekends a month. We're actually doing a month right now where it's 3 weekends this month. And summer exercises from anywhere from 1 week to the longest we've done is 12 weeks. And training here takes place outside of PEI in most cases. There are some Prince Edward Island based exercises, but the majority of them are in other parts of the Maritimes or other parts of the country. So most often he will be in Halifax, Gagetown, or Aldershot, but he's also gone to various parts of Ontario and out west as well. So we have never done, full disclosure, we've never done the 6 to 9 month deployment. And even during our 12-week one, he was able to drive home on not necessarily every weekend, but at least every second weekend. So just want to be upfront about that. But he is away frequently, and we have 2 girls, and they definitely notice it. So I just want to kind of talk about that. So I am a military spouse. Jamie mentioned I'm a part-time military spouse, and that's my phrasing. I use that language because I don't necessarily define myself as a military spouse. I wear many hats. I included in the photo here. That's my favorite hat, by the way. I love that hat. It's a great hat. But I have many titles, and yeah, so I took like 10 minutes and just did this little writing exercise and thought, well, how many things am I? And like, these are on your screen in front of you. And then you'll notice that some of them are in pink and some of them are in blue, and that's just not me getting bored of one color and flipping back and forth. But I wanted to kind of take a step back and say, well, which roles are ones that I have taken on just for myself, and which ones are based on other people or have a high dependency on other people. And that's not necessarily a negative thing. I want to make that clear. I love, 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 love being a mom, but I can't be a mom if there's no 2 other kids in that picture, right? So they depend on me, and the mom title, as you can see, is kind of broken down to a lot of different hats in and of itself. I was born a daughter, a sister, These are roles that I treasure, but I had no say in them. They were just kind of bestowed upon me. The blue are roles that I have taken on completely myself, and they are to serve me. And so they are my self-care roles, if you will. So you have my exercise in there, and my wine, and things that bring me joy. So there's two roles up there that are split half and half, and one is a writer. And so I do a lot of writing. I have my first children's book will be published this fall, and I'm working on many projects outside of that. So I do have a publisher, and so I am indebted to them, and I have deadlines with them, and I have obligations to them. So hence the pink part of that title. But there's a lot of other writing projects that I do that are solely for me, and I may not even show those words to anybody, or even outside of that, I just do it for enjoyment. The same thing with being a business owner. I would not have a business if I didn't have clients or if I didn't have my business partner, but there's a lot of that brings me joy and me fulfillment, and being able to basically take care of my own financial future and take care of my own career goals and not depend on anybody else in terms of like a regular pay check. I'm providing for that myself. So I am a military spouse, but I don't define myself as just a military spouse. I am an editor by profession and a co-owner of a writing editing company, so there's a lot of work that goes in of that. Add that to my military husband, and we are a pretty hectic family. Okay, so confessions of a part-time reservist military spouse. Yes, so my husband joined up about the second time 12 years ago, and that's when I was new to his life. It was when we were engaged. I think he waited until we were engaged before he said he wanted to re-enlist. He had gone through cadets and joined up when he was about 18 years old, and then took a break to pursue post-secondary education. So this was his round 2. And I had no idea what being a member of the Canadian Armed Forces entailed. I was not part of a military family. I had no idea. I equated being in the military with, going off to war. I really had no idea. And so he assured me that no, that's not what it's all about. And at the end of that conversation, I thought it was like he was going to join a recreational basketball league, and I thought that was great. Completely naive. There's been a lot of learning that has taken place in the past 12 years, and I'm not going to lie, it's not been easy. It's not all wonderful learning. I am proud of what he does, I really am, but I have had to adapt and adjust, and the number one challenge that I've had is that his schedule, no matter what, always comes first. And I did not always see that in the early days. That's a tactful way of making that statement. So it has taken me and him a lot of growing to get to this point where we are now. So it's not easy. There is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear that comes with it. No, he's not on deployment, and I know that there are so many more stresses that come with that, and I applaud anybody who ever goes through that. But anytime that somebody puts on that uniform, that goes out on a training range, accidents can happen, and as the events in Ottawa and Quebec brought home, you don't even need to leave the country anymore to be at risk. That doesn't necessarily fit in with a lot of my PEI friends because, like I said, it's a reservist population here, so my friends are actually not reservist family members. I'm more in the civilian side of things, so I'm in this limbo mode of I have this military life, but most of my friends are civilians, so they don't have those types of fears and uncertainties in lifestyle. So no amount of planning can prepare for these things that come your way, the schedule changes and all of those things. My husband almost missed our wedding, actually, because he was supposed to go away on the course. And he managed to get that one changed, and he left 6 days after we were married for the summer. So,
and you laugh. How do you do that?
I laugh now. I didn't laugh then. I did not. I was still very new to what being part of a military family was, and moreover, my own supports were new to it. So I didn't have other military families to guide me or explain things. I had all civilian family and friends who thought, what is this about? So there's been growing, and I have been blessed to have befriended primarily Right Force military spouses, and have had some amazing friendships with some of those women who have been my mentor, as you can say, in this life journey. So there are things that are missed. The text message that you see on the slide, that was my way of saying happy anniversary, honey, because that was on our 10th anniversary a few years ago, and he was in Gagetown. He's been away for the past 3 anniversaries, and yeah, note to self, do not get married in June if you are planning on being in a military family, because that's not smart. The basket of goodies was his way of saying happy anniversary, so one of us dealt with that absence a little better than the other. For those of you who don't know, June bugs, they are the most hideous critters alive, and I never encountered them until I moved to PEI. They're basically flying stupid bugs, beetles, like really disgusting. They come out the rest of the year, and I am terrified of them. So
they're loud.
They are. They sound like rain, but it's bugs on your window. Picture of me smiling, and I'm soaking wet there. That was taken in October, and I'm happy because we're finally celebrating that anniversary, and this will be months later. And I'm soaking wet, I'm escaping a hailstorm, but I don't care because we're finally actually celebrating it. So that's what being a part of this lifestyle is, putting things on hold, doing things later or when it's convenient. He's never missed any of our daughter's birthdays or their actual birthdays, but he's missed mine and he's missed anniversaries. So, you know, you do have to face that. The kids are often sad and they have complicated emotions and they act out in ways that reflect that, and I'm the one that has to usually deal with that outcome. People may not necessarily understand the lifestyle, and I'm constantly explaining it, and I feel like I'm defending it, and it can be hard. So things will go wrong. If the kids are going to get sick, they're going to get sick on a weekend he's away. If I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick on a weekend he's away. Washing machines will break, cars will break, the dogs will get sick. I've dealt with all of these things, and I'd like to be able to sit here and tell you that I've dealt with it all in grace and humility, but I would be completely lying. There are times when I curse and yell, and I think, why am I part of this family? Because it can be really, really difficult. But each time something happens, I learn from it, and I use that to try and grow in this journey. So making adjustments whenever you need to. So the summer that he was away for 12 weeks, I totally paid a teenager to mow our lawn. I can mow my lawn. I am not not like a weak girl, but it just bought me some time that I could work. I run my own business. So when he's away, I'm not just the spouse at home, but I am also half of our income earning. I am trying to replace 2 people with me, plus do all of the work that I need to do. So at times I have to make choices. You know, I have a deadline, I have a client project due, the laundry's piling up, the grass needs to be mowed, the child is crying. Like, which do you do first? And there are days when the laundry will not win, and that grass is going to continue to grow and look pretty wild by the end of it. So about prioritizing just to basically cope and get on with the day-to-day.
We have
I
a
like this.
question here for you,
Sure.
and that is, what type of industry is your husband in?
You mean for the military?
No, outside of the military.
He's in a career transition right now, so he's working toward architect technician.
Ah, very cool. Thank you.
So lots of yes, he went back to school full time as well, and amongst all of this. So
what is he doing this? What do you guys do in your free time?
I don't know what that is. We can do anything we want as women, and we have been preaching that message for decades and decades, but I'm a firm believer that we can't do everything at once. And some days you just have to choose. And some days I will admit I'm a better business person than I am a mom. I'm a better mom other days than I am a wife. And, you know, you can't be everything all in the same day. So it is vital to find your support. I've had to do this, especially being on PEI. So we don't have a base here, and we do have an MFRC, obviously, but it's smaller than other MFRCs across the country. So they do what we can, and they have fantastic social events throughout the year, but they don't have as many services as some of the MFRCs and larger bases. So my exposure to other military families isn't as frequent as it would be if I was in larger centers. So it's vital that military families feel supported, because there are times when we feel pretty isolated, even if we have strong civilian lives as well. My main support is that handsome man in the corner that you see with me, and I'm not talking about the fox. The upper corner. And it seems really strange for me to say that because he's the one that causes a lot of this chaos too, and he'll admit that. But he's the one who understands what it's like to be in the military, and he sees the impacts that it can have. And so he knows the lingo, and he knows the story, and he lets me yell and scream whenever I need to. And he's pretty good at taking it. So we've had to develop a good communication strategy over the past 12 years, so way back to when we were engaged, and that course came up right before our wedding. I think he threw that at me about 2 or 3 weeks before the wedding. He said, so I might have to go away on course before, but they'll let me out for the weekend. So that didn't happen, and now we have a better kind of communication strategy about priorities and who has what going on and what needs to happen. My family, obviously, my parents are pictured there with the fox down below. We were doing a fundraising event for the PEI MFRC, and they live here in PEI, and they're pretty good at stepping in and either taking the girls if I need a little bit of a break, or just inviting us over for supper so I can have a conversation with another adult. That's really important. In the upper right-hand corner, I included a photo of my oldest daughter, and I think that was about 2 years ago. I think she was 7 then, and this was during that 12-week exercise, and it was summer, so school was out, and I was training for my first half marathon, I think. We're going to say that. And so I needed to get in running time, and I was spraying for babysitters on the weekend, but I didn't want to be doing that, 4 or 5 times a week. So I got creative, and I said, okay, hop on your bike. We will run around the neighborhood instead of going on my long trail kind of run, just did a loop around the neighborhood. And what I didn't expect was after that ride, how proud and excited my daughter was that she was helping me. I just thought we were going out and exercising and having a fun time together. But later that evening, she called my husband and said, I helped mommy today. And so that taught me that I can actually lean on my own kids for support too, in kind of an age-appropriate kind of way. You might be wondering why I have a picture of my feet on this presentation and a less than pretty picture of my feet. So back to me doing a lot of running. I am a horrible runner. I'm really hard on my feet, and I suffer from chronic blisters. And I have tried everything that I can, expensive socks, every kind of sneaker you can imagine, the creams, like everything, and nothing seems to work. So I went online and looked on a forum, and someone suggested duct tape. And I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. And lo and behold, it's duct tape that actually is the most successful. So my message here is sometimes your support comes in unusual places. You know, duct tape, who knew? But it works. So the biggest challenge, I guess, for me is asking for support. I know where to find it, but I often have trouble saying that I qualify for help, or, you know, I'm not a full-time military spouse, so I should be able to handle all of these challenges. So basically, I have to remind myself to swallow my pride and say, no, I need support in this. And I think that's a message that a lot of women face too, regardless of your profession or the profession of your significant other. So I get by with a lot of self-care, and the Army teaches you actually to take care of yourself first before you look after your troop members. And if you've ever been on a plane, flight attendants will tell you the same thing: put your own mask on first before you assist others. And there's a huge message in that. And we've heard it all before. And, you know, the message of self-care and taking care of yourself, and you can't give to others if you're running on empty. But I really think it's something that we constantly need to not just remind ourselves to do, but celebrate when you see another woman participating in it. I think we have a tendency as women to be a little bit sometimes competitive, or feel like we have to project that we are doing it all. And so we don't want to say when we're taking time out for ourselves, or, you know, we're just running up to have that 15-minute bubble bath or whatever it is. But I really think that we need to start praising those efforts. Add some water here. So for me, my self-care, I need to exercise a lot, and that's not primarily for physical health, but it's for my mental state. So I run, I swim, and I practice a lot of yoga. My dogs are so important to me, and we have one cranky old man spaniel. He's the one on the yoga mat in the upper right-hand corner, and we've had him forever. And we have one 18-month-old hyper lab who loves to give hugs. If you've ever seen that video that's going around with that dog in New York who hugs, my dog could do that too, but the unfortunate thing is she's 70 pounds, so she knocks the wind out of you. But I need exercise, I need humor. So yeah, humiliating my dog is kind of a fun way of getting a smile. That's how we celebrated her 6-month birthday. We wrote down everything she had chewed up and destroyed in the past 6 months. We actually did too. I didn't include this photo, but we had kept a lot of these items and put them all out on the counter and took a photo of them too. Related to her, the Christmas ornament that you see, that was my daughter's for 2008. I had to make slight adjustments too, because it's now the dog's first Christmas ornament, as she put her teeth marks into it, literally. So instead of throwing it out, I thought, oh well, you know, I'll just make this a funny moment, and we can still hang it on our tree year after year, and it'll make me smile. I like to take pleasures in, I guess, drawing out a moment, taking my time to enjoy things. So I will sometimes take 2 hours to cook a meal. Usually this is just for my husband and I. The girls don't really appreciate that, but I will take 2 hours and make a fancy meal. I'll put some jazz music on, you know, maybe pour myself a glass of wine while I do it, and the cooking becomes just as enjoyable as the food itself at the end of it. I love doing that. I don't do that a lot, but when I do, it's a special occasion and it's fun. I'll take my computer to a cafe and to either work on some deadline that I have or my own personal writing, and I'll order a fancy cappuccino. So something that I don't get to do very often, away from the office or away from my home, and it's just an enjoyable moment. So if you don't take time for yourself, what can happen? And this has happened to me, and it's happened to me pretty recently. You become exhausted, and when you become exhausted, you become deflated, you can become resentful and bitter and impatient, and pretty much a miserable person to be and to be around. And that projects onto the military spouse, the military lifestyle, and just basically anything about your life. So that has happened to me, and I'd like to say that, you know, that happened in the early days and I learned from that and it's never happened again, but that's not the truth. It happens pretty regularly. How I cope with that is to acknowledge it, take a step back and say, okay, what's going on? What do I need to fix this? And learn from that experience. Yeah, so the military family, whether you're Reg Force or a reservist, it's all about adjustment. It's all about how you handle those changes and adapting when new things are thrown at you. And sometimes, like I said, you will adjust easier than others, and sometimes you won't adjust very well, and that's okay. It's okay because you can use that to reflect on later, and we're all human, right? So going back, I don't actually have to physically go back, but just thinking back to that first slide where I had all those roles and titles written out, my life is very much for me, and I am a military spouse, but I am more than a military spouse, and I think that's so important. I think that's really important as women, that we find a passion for ourselves and that we create roles that are important just for us, that are outside of either the military or whatever else is going on in your life. It's something that you can take pride in yourself. So we, as women, we can often feel guilty indulging, but following your heart can benefit the whole family. And yeah, so I just wanted to end by thanking everybody for listening to me ramble on. And I've included some ways here you can reach out to me, stay connected, and I wish everybody a happy International Women's Day.
Wow, Christine, you made some brilliant points. First off, I didn't know as much about the reserves as you shared with me. And, you know, when you go through a 6-month deployment, it is challenging. But when you go through separation and then reunion and separation and reunion, and that has its own challenges as well. Certainly we are not alone, and I just really appreciate that you came out tonight to share the importance of community support. And community support comes in all ages, right? We saw that with your daughter who was biking. So thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to have you here. And we're going to go on to the next guest speaker now, who is Kendra Mellish. So Kendra is a retired captain. She's a veteran with 27 years of service. And you know, when Christine was saying that you don't, we're more than just a military, well, Kendra is a perfect example of that. We're more than just one being. So Kendra is a mother, a sister, she's a widow, and an OSIS peer support coordinator for Prince Edward Island. So she had firsthand knowledge of the military lifestyle. And she's experienced her own deployment. She's extremely driven to advocate for peer support within our community, and she's been very successful in bringing veterans and families together. Cadets are very important to Kendra, and after the loss of her husband, she's overcome many challenges that have made her very, very strong. So Kendra, it is our pleasure to have you here today, a very independent and honorable woman who's part of the community of PEI. So I'm wondering if you can unmute Kendra. And what we're going to do with Kendra, her presentation is a little bit different. So Kendra, she has a speech that she wants to share with you, and then we're going to go through a few photos just to really get to know her a little bit better. Christine, if you could turn off your camera, that would be awesome. Great. And over to you, Kendra.
Thank you, Margaret, so much for that introduction. I just want to say good afternoon, good evening, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning, sorry, time zones. And for those who are from afar via the cyberspace, Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the International Women's Day via MFRC-PEI. I'm truly blessed and grateful, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here morning and evening and afternoon. So I have a few notes, so I'm just going to work through those notes, and then we'll carry on with the slides as Margaret has mentioned. So as you heard in the introduction, I was born and raised in PEI and just recently returned to my home province after 30 years away. So my question is, am I still considered an islander, or am I home from away? You tell me, because I'm like sitting on the fence there. I say I'm an islander. My message today is titled An Ultimate Sacrifice, and it's about how to live a great life despite the fact that life is difficult. And it's all about how personal growth may seem sudden, but it is a result of small, often unnoticed, intermittent steps. If any of those steps did not take place, personal growth would not have been achieved at all. My story, my personal story, is our country has a long history of standing up for the rights and freedoms of Canadians that hold dear. The men and women who join the Canadian Armed Forces and the RCMP know that they may be called upon to risk their lives on behalf of Canada and to uphold peace, security, or human rights. We're here, at home, and around the world. For those who accept the condition of unlimited liability, we are honored the service, and we are grateful for each personal sacrifice, including those sacrifices made by our families. Canada pays tribute to its fallen service members with time-honored traditions and public displays of remembrance. We bury them with honors and build memorials to their sacrifices. We recall their professionalism and their commitment to duty, honor, and country. Every one of these men and women, however, had a name, a face, a personality, and a family that loved them. The military widow that is left behind lost much more than a heroic service member. Her life, her loss, is everlasting and changing. From this point forward, time will be measured by the years spent with her husband and the years spent without him. A service death is a public event. Privacy is a luxury. It seems like only yesterday I was a wife coping with normal issues and the military life. But when the unexpected happened and a new label was identity was forced upon me. Even as a military widow, I still didn't fit into a particular mold. The terms soldier, or domestic minor, or C-9er are generally used to describe a military wife. The significant other is the main source of income for the family. This person is rotated in and out of the family circle at a beckoning call of our government, leaving the domestic minor to run the household in his absence, patiently waiting for the day the tour ends. Sadly, the end tour date can come sooner with the schedule, with the knock of the door from the military padre. This is when you learn for the first time you are a military widow. Where in the military terminology will you find that description? You will not. But the experience dictates this as much. In your marriage or relationship, you are young, with young or teenage children. Your spouse could come from private or as a commanding officer. You hail from all walks of life, ages, and backgrounds, from all areas of Canada. You may have given up or put your career on hold to support his. You too may be a serving member of the military, so you understand the job. If so, you have learned the value of family and duty by maintaining the balancing act. You, more than any others, understand there will be a great deal of dedication and sacrifice on your part. You will depend in part on extended families to complete the task at hand. To meet the successful military wife criteria, you develop some much-needed life skills and attributes which set you apart from many others. With all the medals he has earned over the years, you will be awarded the bravest, that being the Silver Memorial Cross. To be the recipient of this medal, you must endure a tremendous amount of grief. Military life has forced you to develop and hone some much-needed life skills that will help you to cope more than any other woman your age that may have had the military influence. These combined skills, plus your inner strength to keep the home fires burning, a deep-rooted willpower that you may not yet be in touch with, will help you to survive the days, the weeks, and the months that will soon turn into years ahead as a military widow. Regardless of the time that passes, in your heart, you will know and remember those ghostly words that will forever haunt you. Like it was yesterday, we regret to inform you on behalf of the Canadian people and the Prime Minister of Canada, please accept this flag. Canada mourns with you, and always remember you are not alone. But I felt alone. Amelia Earhart wrote, please know that I'm aware of the hazards. I want to do it because I want to do it. Women must try to do things that men have tried. When they fail, their failure must be a challenge to others. You see, there are two sides to this story. There is one side of the coin. On the other side of the coin is where you have the words, life is hard, inscribed. But if you turn the coin over, you will read 5 very small, powerful words that read, you must make it better. This is one of the beautiful things about life that I have come to realize through tragedy. You can make life better. You have total responsibility over what you do and how you respond to the fact that life is hard. As the now cliche says, if life hands you lemonade, make lemon. If life hands you lemons, make lemonade. Accepting that life is hard comes with accepting that you have the responsibility to make it better. Not only do you have the responsibility to make it better, you have the ability and the power to make it better. You can make it better, become a better employee, and someone worth giving responsibilities at work. The promotions and the better paying are sure to follow one way or another. You can make it better, learn how to raise better kids and have a happier home. Become a good husband or wife you would like your spouse to be. You can make it better, learn how to turn that business around, gain the extra skills you need to run a successful business. Go out and volunteer your services to veterans and others in the community. Make that difference. You see, the only person you have any control over is yourself. You cannot change any other people. Let's take, for example, of marriage for a moment. Notice that I did not say you should turn your husband or your spouse into the ideal spouse. I said you should become the ideal husband or wife you want your spouse to be. Then once you become such a person, you may have several choices as to how to relate to your spouse. Firstly, once you are near perfect as a spouse, as anyone can be, your husband or wife might see the difference and also decide to change for better, as they might change naturally as a response to your new attitude. Secondly, if they don't change, perhaps you should have reached a level of maturity where you can contact and satisfy with those who are their faults and no longer bother you. Or thirdly, in some cases, such as an abusive relationship or the relationships that are at risk to your health, you may reach a level of self-acceptance and courage where you are able to leave the abusive or unfaithful relationship. Whatever the case may be, This example illustrates one important fact about the fact that life is hard and taking responsibility, that you always have choices. No matter what your situation you're in, you have a choice. No matter how bad things are, you have a choice. No matter what you think you can or cannot do, you have a choice. Now, it may not be easy choice by any means. It may be a very difficult choice, and the road you decide to take may be a tough one. It may push you your way out of your comfort zone. It may mean that in the initial period of your life may be even harder than it already is, but it's a choice nevertheless. A lot of times you actually find that choices are not as hard as you thought they were. You may just have to shut your mind from seeing those choices and possibilities because you thought you had no choice. Once you become open to the idea that you are responsible for your life and that you have choices, you will find that you are no longer stuck just because life is hard. At this point, life is still hard, but you still have a final say. Your life becomes more meaningful and purposeful. Sacrifice, sometimes you have to sacrifice something that you're not going or nor to accept it, or somebody sacrifices something for you. It's easy to look at my life now and say, wow, I've come a long way from all the way over there to here. I've climbed mountains, crossed rivers, and at times I didn't think I was going to make it, but here I am. But what can we do? We don't do enough is to say thank you. We really take the time to say thank you to those who played a role in our lives, who shaped us, who got us through the hard times, the moments we thought we would never make it out. And it is these people who were there for us, knowing that we were never, and we should thank them. The hidden heroes, the inspirational, the motivators. So when you have a chance, say thank you. It's about gratitude. It makes the world go around. This is my self-care, giving back to others. There are still many causes worth sacrificing for. So much history is yet to be made. Today's leadership in women is about mentoring others and young women to teach them that they have the strength to endure whatever life throws our way, the ultimate sacrifice. Here's to strong women. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. God bless you. Thank you.
Wow, here is the strong woman. May we know them, may we be them, may we raise them. I love that, Kendra. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for this, for sharing your thoughts with us. We're going to go through a second part of your presentation now, and that is just learning a little bit more about you. So tell me what you're doing here.
So in this particular picture, I've done basic training 3 times because I joined as a reservist, and then I went as a non-commissioned member, and then I commissioned from the ranks. So as we say, we hit that wall and climbed that rope 3 times. So this is me, doing the obstacle course.
Wow, you must love it.
It was fun. It was exciting, for sure.
And each time in basic training, you must have met some interesting people because they become your brothers and sisters, right?
That's correct. My peers, yes.
Your peers.
And we bond together. So, and I've had many after the, actually 8 weeks after my husband died, I was back on course in the military. And I had 2 weeks of compassionate leave. And some of the guys who showed up with me said, and we'd be marching and rocking and saying, if she can do this, I can do this. So that was very motivating.
Yes. And tell us a little bit about Afghanistan.
So this was my first tour in Afghanistan in Kabul. and I actually went to Kabul, Afghanistan before my husband did. So I left him home. He did 7 tours in total, and I met him when I was 13, so we grew up together, and we were together for 25 years. And so I always kept the home fires burning, like Christine said, juggling the family and work and everything, and this was my first tour. And that was hard for him to stay at home with the kids, and I absolutely loved it because somebody did my laundry, somebody made my meals, and I just rolled up my sleeping bag every day, even though I was dodging bullets and IEDs and out on the road every day. So, yeah, it definitely changed me, that tour, for sure. But I understood my husband that much more.
Right, because he had been on 7 before. Oh, you were the first one to go, though, right?
To Afghanistan, yes.
Okay.
He had already done 6 tours at that point.
Oh, wow.
So this was in 2008, and that's his dad on the left there, and we went to Kandahar at the memorial for all the fallen soldiers.
Oh.
And that is my husband's granite stone just below there with the poppy.
Wow.
And that was kind of interesting because a lot of the crew on the plane and the staff just thought I was another soldier because I fit right in. Because I was in combat, they didn't expect it to be a service couple.
Oh, of course. Now, service couple, that's an interesting challenge in its own right, isn't it?
Tag parenting is what we call it. When we spent 18 years in Petawawa, and we were both in field units, so it was kind of, thank God we had a great babysitter and great friends, and I'd be bugged out at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then 20 minutes later the phone would ring and he'd be bugged out. So, and we would go for months, weeks, and it was hard missing the kids' birthdays and Easter. And actually in 2003, I came home from theater at Christmas time to spend Christmas, and unbeknownst to me, my husband was replacing a fallen soldier in 2003, Sergeant Short, and he came to Afghanistan when I was coming home on leave. So when I returned to leave, he deployed back to Canada to go on course until I left in July, and I didn't catch up with him again until May the next year.
Wow. And you guys were together 25 years, hey? Since you were 13.
Yes.
So cadets are very important to you. Tell me about this picture.
Well, Frank and I both met in cadets when we were 13 years old. And that was the reason he joined the military, and I joined the military as well. So in his memory, I still volunteer with the Air Cadet League of Prince Edward Island, and I wanted to give something back to the masses in celebration of Frank's memory. And instead of just one squadron, I wanted to do it all to Atlantic Canada. So I donated a large sum, and some other parties and leagues got involved, and we purchased this airplane in memory of my husband. So it allows cadets, once they get their glider license, to transfer onto their private pilot license and get some power time. And this goes all around Atlantic Canada, and his name is on it, and all the cadets know the story. So his memory lives on.
Isn't that exciting? With the passion of the military and giving back to our country.
And mentoring the younger youth as well.
Mentoring the younger youth, which you were speaking about, how important it is to mentor. And even, I think, seasoned military spouses who are now mentoring military spouses who are just coming into the world. I think that's important too, that mentoring.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm doing that with my youngest son. And his fiance will be a military spouse, so yes.
Oh, so you're helping them. Good. Now, Heather was just saying, before we get into this picture, Heather was just saying she was wondering how you had 25 years together since you look so young.
That's the water.
There you go.
I was doing that in math real hard.
I bet, Heather.
I have two sons that are engaged now, so my oldest is 24. Yeah, and my son, they were 9 and 11, and my 11-year-old had done 11 tours, or 7 tours at that point when his dad died.
Wow.
So that's a lot of time away, plus career courses as well. So yeah.
Wow, that's a young person's lifetime.
Yes.
Wow.
So this picture is with former retired CDS Rick here, and we were at the Delta a year ago giving presentations to Atlantic Canada's RCMP on different support, self-care, and how you carry on with operational stress injuries.
Do you want to share about the picture? You were excited to get the picture?
So Rick was the Chief of Defense Staff who met me in Trenton on my worst day ever. And so I've known him for many, many years, and he's helped me lobby for many changes for military families. Because you have to remember, the military sent me the bill for Frank's funeral in 2006. And I had to fight the war clause, and there was many different things I had to go to Parliament and lobby for. So this day I said to Rick, I've never had a picture of the two of us together, so can I get a picture? And I was fumbling in my purse trying to find my camera because I'm talking to a general. And he's, I'm pulling out everything. I'm pulling out lipstick, hairbrushes, tampons, and everything. And he says, it's okay, I'll just take the picture and text you. So that was a fun moment. You know, as soldiers, we share everything. So.
One other comment that we have, Kendra, is that Jamie adores, Jamie, why don't you say what you've written? We can get another voice in.
Hey, sorry, I was trying to get off mute.
That's okay.
I just adore that the speakers that we've had tonight just are such a large range of what the military family looks like. So we've had the reservist family, and I know oftentimes they feel excluded from the MFRC and such, but I think especially in Winnipeg, we try to do a really good job on including the reservists with regular service families and whatnot. And then we had dual service couples, which face different challenges. And then, of course, we had the widows speak also. And I think that I really appreciate the fact that we've had such a dynamic group of families speak. I know we still have to listen to Heather, so.
You still get to listen to Heather. That's right.
Don't push yourself.
Sorry, I didn't mean it like that. We still get to listen to Heather.
I'll buy you coffee.
That's so true, though, and Kendra, thank you so much for all that you're doing for the widows, because you know they need to have a voice, and you are that voice.
Thank you.
Wow. Can you share with us this lovely picture of you?
Now, last year, because I'm ill and injured as well because of my own service, I participated in the first Sailing Soldier On program in Prince Edward Island. So it was a week long in Charlottetown Harbor in the Northumberland Strait, and we got our captain's license on vessels. I think the largest was 44 feet and the smallest was 24 feet. And it was interesting because it doesn't matter if you're male or female. We're all soldiers. We all connect. And I just happened to be the only female who participated in this with a bunch of guys. But it was amazing. I loved it.
Now, Soldier On, can you tell us a little bit about the Soldier On, what that organization does?
Now, the Soldier On program is a national program across Canada, and they do many, like they work with like wounded warriors, and they help soldiers get back out of the rut and get into activities. So there's hiking, there's sailing, there's tours in Quebec cities. It's for the soldier, but there's also some spousal programs too with the horse riding that are happening out west as well.
Okay. And there's also COPE for the spouses as well too.
Yes.
Couples overcoming PTSD every day. Yeah.
Yes.
So there are supports
Yes.
there. And this picture, what can you share about this?
Now this picture, because I work in Veterans Affairs headquarters in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, and this is the Book of Remembrance that is on display in the foyer, and this opened to Frank on Remembrance Day.
And did you know that it was going to be open to Frank?
No, I didn't. Absolutely not.
Wow. That's pretty
And
special.
Chalkboard in the foyer, which lots of people go and they write their messages to our soldiers and our loved ones that are ill and injured on Remembrance Day. So that's really unique and special, and you feel appreciated when you see that.
Yeah. You're not alone, right?
Right.
We're not alone. So your self-care is gratitude and your fur babies.
My fur babies that have kept me above the daisy, as you say, in the military. And I'm a big supporter of service dogs. And the chocolate lab on the right, he is my service dog, and his name is Royal, after the Royal Canadian Regiment, and he's almost 2 years old now. And he comes to work with me every day. And sometimes he's a royal pain in the butt, but he's, I love it. I have 12 service dogs in my veterans group. And I also, the golden doodle, her name is Cadence. And then I have the little Situ, which is Maggie May, and the Westie, who is Winston, that just passed away this summer.
Now, you do peer support, and you just mentioned that you have 12 veterans that have service dogs. Can you tell me a little bit about the peer support?
So, operational stress injuries on the island. I look after veterans with operational stress injuries, and currently we have about 4,300 veterans through Veterans Affairs in PEI, but I'm finding a lot of veterans that are homeless, that are not in the VAC system, that need services, they need guidance, they need to get into mental health. So I help them to guide that. We also have the family peer support, which I'm double-hatted because we're in the process of hiring a family peer support coordinator for PEI. We're the only province who doesn't have that. So that's coming on, and that's somebody who can talk to the families. Because a lot of times I meet the veteran, and the next day I get the phone call from the spouse, and she wants to meet me. And I can relate to her as well, because I've been there.
So you're actually hiring a family peer support coordinator. Wow.
Island to work with me, yes.
And there are a lot of veterans that are homeless.
Yes, yes. Men, more so women than men.
More so women than men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw an article on the newspaper. PEI did something on that, or CBC. Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Kendra, for all that you do. Thank you for coming out tonight. It was so wonderful to meet you and to get the opportunity to learn a bit more. I'm so thankful of all the work that you do for the cadets, and I'm thankful for the work that you do for peer support as well as for other widows to share with them that we are not alone. And, you know, for you to be given a bill for a funeral, that is just awful.
Well, we changed that. Doesn't happen anymore.
Good. Good. Yes, very
And
good.
that's just
Yes.
because I was in the system and I knew how it worked. So I knew how to...
But we thank you, because not everybody would take that initiative, and you did, and you're making a difference every day. So we really appreciate that you shared your story with us, and you came here tonight.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, everybody. Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome. And now our final guest speaker tonight is somebody that I've known for probably, I think, 25 years or more.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, there goes the age thing. So my dear friend Heather, I met her when we were in Shearwater. And I think we were on the board together, right? If memory serves. And then we moved, many, many years later, we moved to Winnipeg. And I knocked on the door asking for sugar or something next door, and she was my neighbor right beside me in Winnipeg. So how small is our world? Heather is going to be sharing with us today the importance of really good friends, the friends that know us and like us anyways, the friends that give us support and kind of give us the nudge we need to go to the area, maybe to expand, broaden our horizons a little bit. She is the receptionist at the MFRC in Winnipeg. She is a comedian, and she's worked with CBC. She's in a play right now, and she's been in movies. And I'm just so proud of everything that you've done, Heather. And as a true military spouse, I know that you've had many, many different hats and many different jobs and careers throughout your time, and you've really shined in the comedy area. So it's our pleasure to welcome you to the second annual virtual International Women's Day to celebrate women.
Thank you so much. Yes, that is exactly how we met. Actually, Margaret's moving truck was blocking my driveway. And so Rick said, I can't get out of the driveway. What am I going to do? And I said, you know, let an extrovert handle this. So I went outside and spoke to someone, which is what you do. That's the correct form of action. So then I spoke to you and you said, hello, my name is Margaret. And I said, oh, hey, Margaret, because we had known each other previously in Shearwater. So, you know, you can just chase your friends around the country as a military spouse, which is kind of cool. And I was, you know, I put this up on my Facebook kind of hoping that, you know, maybe some of my old friends would tune in. So, but I do see a few names here that I know, which is awesome. So thanks again for organizing this. It was lots of fun, and I really enjoyed, you know, helping you plan this. Well, obviously you did the work. I'm just here to take the last spot, which makes me so happy because that kind of makes me the headliner, and you know how that goes with my ego, so that's fantastic. So yeah, I'm Heather, and as you can see on this first slide, this quote that's here, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. I saw this somewhere in a book, and it's by Pablo Picasso, and I immediately knew I had to have this in my life. So back when those first came out, sort of post-toll painting days, but when they moved toll painting into, you know, things that you could put up on your wall, I have this quote basically in a big vinyl sticker on my wall in my living room. So this just really spoke to me at that time. I moved into this house and, sorry, you know what? Do you ever have long hair and a lip gloss? Those two things don't go together. So, and I can't hear any of you laughing, so I hope you're laughing. If not, just, you know, pretend that you're laughing or use a little hand signal or something like that. I once did stand up for like a radio program, which was the weirdest thing because, of course, there you can't hear anyone laughing there either, and it's just very disconcerting. But so yes, when I first moved into this house, actually we moved into this house on my son's 6th birthday, and that means that he was 6 and my twins were 3. So we were right in the thick of it, like 3 little kids, and I really needed some art to wash away the dust of my life, because my whole life was dust. My life was, you know, cleaning and cooking and childcare on repeat. And I didn't really feel like I had old Heather anymore. And in fact, I didn't even really know who that might be. And so I think it's funny that I have this quote that says, you know, art washes away from the soul of the dust of everyday life. Because first of all, I'm a ginger, so I have no soul. Second of all, I'm an atheist, and so what is a godless ginger doing talking about the soul anyway? So, so anyway, so this is my story. This quote just resonated with me so much, and I really knew that I needed something, right? And so what I thought I would talk about today is my journey of self-care is basically about me coming back to me. Because, I mean, we all have roles that people want to define us by, you know, and some of them we take on and some of them are given to us, just like Christine said. I really liked that point. And, you know, so yes, motherhood was a choice, but you know, sometimes people will define themselves by their work, and some of that can be a choice. But really, deeper down, you're somebody. I like to define the soul. To me, is kind of like something that you are that no one can see. It's all the things about you that no one can see. So it's not the fact of the way that I look or even the way that I sound, but really the things that are essentially you. So that's my definition there of that. So yeah, going back, I mean, when I first put that up on my wall, like I said, I had 3 little kids. I think my husband was still Reg Force at that time, and he was, you know what, it was a really challenging time. I don't talk about it a lot, but I have struggled with depression and postpartum depression. And as they're coming out now and saying, people can basically have stay-at-home parent depression. And that's a real thing, because it's not, although it can be fulfilling in its ways, it's not always everyone's calling. And so being a mom or parent is just, can be a really huge, well, it is a huge undertaking that not all of us are prepared for. I was really not feeling prepared for parenthood, and but there I was all of a sudden with three young kids. And so at that time, my husband was kind of, you know, in a period of time in his career where he was, you know, getting noticed and, you know, always Mr. Top 12 in his you know, PERs and things like that. And so basically what had happened was we had spent a lot of time on the East Coast, and they kind of wanted to send him right back there to be a CO of one of the squadrons. And now all in the same year, I had my twins, and my father, I should just say, my family lives in Winnipeg, so I am a Winnipegger. My father was diagnosed with cancer and passed away very quickly, within basically 3 months of his diagnosis. So it was very short and extreme in what he had to go through. Although, you know, we went through that time, and I honestly did not feel like I could actually. Everybody talks about resilience, and I still believe in that, but there comes a point where you have to know yourself, and I just knew that I actually did not think that I could handle it. I thought either I can't handle it or my marriage can't handle a move. So over the course of the next few years, Rick managed to get a bit of a extension on his Winnipeg posting, and after that ended up moving to reserves, which is why we've lived in Winnipeg since 1998. So he became a reservist, and that was actually it was a bit of a sacrifice for him. He didn't want to make me feel like he was sacrificing, but I know he was. So anyway, that's a bit of the backstory about why we were here, why we've been here in Winnipeg for so long. But why that quote means so much to me is because, it is very easy to forget yourself. Another thing, I don't know if we want to change slides now, Margaret. But, okay, so here's this awesome picture. And I am going to explain this. I'll give you points if you can guess what this is right now.
Okay. Put in the chat what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got it, Christine.
Okay.
Hand back.
All right. Yeah. You got it. You got it. So my plan was successful. So I said to my son has a graphing tablet. So I said, do you think you could draw me a dustbuster? The reason I have a dustbuster up here is, hear me out. I'm the artsy-fartsy art teacher of this presentation, by the way, if you couldn't tell. I'm always the artsy-fartsy art teacher. But I started to think about, what I was going to talk about in self-care, and I thought about Hansel and Gretel, as you do. So Hansel and Gretel, if you remember the fairy tale, went off into the woods to get away from their creepy stepmother and left themselves a breadcrumb trail so they could find their way back. And the reason that I'm talking about a breadcrumb trail is because I think that, well, anyone, but especially like military spouses that are traipsing around the country, I think you should always have like a personal breadcrumb trail. Like, how do you find your way back to yourself? Because sometimes you just get lost. And that was me. I felt quite lost. I didn't know really exactly what I was about, what I wanted to do, what was in my heart. And if you also recall, Hansel and Gretel had their breadcrumb trail just totally eaten, right, by birds. So, best laid plans and everything, still things happen. But I feel like what I did was had enough people around me that knew me, that were able to hand me back some breadcrumbs and say, Heather, I know here's a point that you can start. So what had happened was my friend had seen an article in the newspaper here in Winnipeg about the Winnipeg Comedy Festival, which is a huge and successful comedy festival. And she said, they're looking for volunteers. You should go. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, that doesn't seem too bad. It wasn't anything to do really with comedy. It was more about can you be a person that can talk to other people and, just give them information about the festival, maybe tell them a couple of jokes. And they honestly gave us banana hats. So I walked through Portage Place Mall, anybody that's been to Winnipeg, I walked through Portage Place Mall with a banana hat. This is how desperate I was for social interaction, by the way. So I would talk to people, tell them about the festival, tell them a few jokes, and then just very coincidentally, around the same time, like in the same month, I would say, my same friend said, have you been hearing these commercials on the radio? And I said, I know the commercial you're talking about. She said, they're looking for Winnipeg's funniest female. And I said, yeah, I've heard it. You should go. You ever got one pushy friend? So she said, you should go. You should definitely go. And I said, I will. And then it took me a few days, but I called and asked about what this process was. And it turned out that you really had to do 5 minutes of stand-up. And I thought, I asked for the latest audition date that I could get, and that's what I did. So I immediately did what one does, and I went to the bookstore, which was also another little breadcrumb for me, because I find the bookstore a very safe place. Because, you know, you're out in public, but you don't necessarily have to interact, but you're not in your home. I mean, to me, it was like, you know, Paxil in a location. Like, I always just felt a little bit better when I was in the bookstore. So I went to the bookstore and I got a book literally called like How to Do Stand-Up. And the reason that anybody ever thought I was funny is because I'm, you know, very snappy with my comebacks. And not everybody's a fan. I'm going to say my husband's not a fan. But I also used to write a lot of letters. That was one of the things that I enjoyed doing when I was posted in different places. And the thing is that people would say to me, "Oh my gosh, your letters like just really sound like you." And I would say, yeah, that's because I wrote them. So I did write funny letters. And so when I went to do stand-up, I realized that stand-up is a bit of a different animal. And I did actually get that little bit of a criticism from one of the judges the night that I competed in Winnipeg's Funniest Female, was they said, you know, you do sound a little bit like a humor column. I'm like, I'll take it. That sounds good to me. But that was my next step, you know, that breadcrumb to getting back to me. Because from there, okay, so let's just take a little trip through history, but, you know, 2006, volunteered for the Comedy Festival. 2006, also did not win Winnipeg's Funniest Female. I got beaten by a skinny blonde lady, which turns out is very, very motivating. Extremely motivating to get beaten by a skinny blonde woman, because I thought I had it in the bag. But she did have a very good joke about the day that she realized that she wanted/needed a boob job was the day that she leaned over her toaster and they fit. So that's a good joke. I mean, she wrote that. Kudos to her. She wrote that joke, and I still remember it 10 years later. So that was a pretty good joke. But yeah, since then, I mean, I have, you know, been in the Winnipeg Comedy Festival. I've participated in a whole bunch of plays at the Winnipeg Fringe Festival. I'm doing another play, as Margaret said, this summer in the Fringe, and we're doing rehearsal. Actually, we're going to read through tonight after this, so I'm excited about that. It's hilarious. It's going to be a play about 5 women in a waiting room for a doula. A doula is like pregnancy aftercare. So anyway, it's hilarious. I'm playing a mom of a teenager, single mom, hockey mom, who gets knocked up on her very first Tinder encounter. So, you know, comedy follows you around. I've also had the opportunity to be an extra in some movies. And I guess we can go to the next slide. Yeah, so I just put this down because I thought, you know what, you have to follow your heart. I like this little image. I did ask my son to draw me also the third image, but, you know, teenagers. So, you know, I've been on this path as a military spouse, and honestly, you know, we have kept a pretty regular life despite the fact that, you know, Rick has been back and forth across the country, you know, mostly business trips, honestly, as a reservist, because, you know, he did his Reg Force and he did his deployments kind of before our kid life, you know, and that's just the way life worked out for us. But I can definitely still, you know, relate to people in the military. I see military families every day. I'm now married to a civilian, so it's kind of interesting. He walked out of his job as as a colonel and went back to his job as a mister. So, you know what, that's an adjustment. And seriously, you know, if you're not prepared to have a life that's constantly in transition, you're probably just not ready for life at all, because life is pretty much all transitions. That's the bad news. Because right now I would say we have, one adult, two near adults, a man that's just retired, so that's sensitive time, and I'm like borderline menopause. So I'm just kind of like praying that everybody gets their together before I completely fall apart. So
you are the queen of the family.
Well, queen of the family, yes. I am the female representative. And so yeah, so you know what? I always joke around that I'm like living proof that your spouse does not affect your military career. So you know what? Just never be afraid to be yourself. I used to be worried that I used to worry more about people liking me, and now I just take it for granted that they do.
Of course they do. We all do. Yes.
I know, but I used to worry about that. I don't worry anymore.
Yeah. Is that an age thing, do you think, that you stop worrying about that, or is that from your life experience? What changes there?
I think you just get to know more people and you realize that you have probably more in common. And if you don't, you appreciate the differences. I mean, I really enjoy meeting people, which is part of my daily job. And a lot of people have come and gone and asked me, oh, well, you still work at the front desk. And you know what? I've never seen it as a punishment to work at the front desk. I love working at the front desk because I do get to meet so many people, and I'm happy to be there. If I'm the first person that they meet, their day's not going to get any weirder from there.
Okay. Well, this has been wonderful, Heather. Thank you so much for sharing your thought about art and children, and following your heart, and the importance of having really good people in your world who know you and want to guide you to where they think you should be, because sometimes we don't see it in ourselves.
Absolutely, and I had a really good opportunity today. Today I was at a conference with Dr. Gabor Mate. He's a doctor that has worked with, he's worked with ADHD, and he's worked a lot with addicts, and he does a lot of work in addictions. Right now he's got I'm trying to think of the latest book. I think the latest book was probably in the realm of Hungry Ghosts, which is about addiction. But he also has a few other books, When the Body Says No. So it's about, living authentically so that, you keep your health. Because a lot of us do things, especially as caregivers, caregivers, whether you're a caregiver as a parent or a caregiver, in looking after, clients through the MFRC, all kinds of things. I mean, all of us at some point or another will be a caregiver, and it is very easy to lose yourself. So he talks about that and about maintaining, those good boundaries and asking yourself, every day, just to make sure that you're checking in and living authentically so you don't get sick. Because people can be really overwhelmed.
And it's you can't help somebody else if you're not well.
No, exactly. And you should be number one. People forget to do that. And self-care is as you define it. But I think self-care, the reason that I wanted to talk I don't know, hopefully that came across, but the reason why I wanted to get the message of getting to know yourself is because only you will know what self-care means to you. Personally, just in the past few years, some of the things that have been self-care for me were yoga and dance and some more physical things. And I never thought of myself as a very physical person. I always thought I was always up here, but some of those things, especially in yoga, learning about, I used to think that it was only hippies with crystals that talked about things like grounding, but now that's me too. But yeah, I have kids that all have, I would say, on the spectrum. So some of those things that we've learned through their experiences, we've been able to translate into self-knowledge too. Like, I remember looking up a lot of things about sensory integration disorder and weighted blankets, things like that that they use for kids and people with autism. And I thought to myself, oh wow, I started to see some ads for, weighted blankets popping up in my Facebook, and I thought, yeah, I need that actually. But all of that has to do with the body and feeling like safe. So I can see that a lot of these things that we learn, sometimes, to help others, we can turn and think of in our own way and apply them to ourselves. So, if self-care to you is a bath, it could be a bath for some people, it could be swimming for another person. For another person that's running, for another person that's, napping. So you have to just take a moment to check in with yourself so that you know what, and don't, unless it's illegal, don't deny those things to yourself, because, you are the first line of care for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you so much. And I just want to send a thank you to all of our guests. So thank you, Heather, for sharing your journey, and for listening to those who love to take that leap of, who convince you to take that leap of faith. Kendra, for sharing the resources that you were able to speak of today. Make it better. Be thankful. And Christine, for sharing the importance of the reserves to our country, and our families are part of mission readiness. You know what? We all are human, and we have our own ways of dealing with things, and we have to really know ourselves. Like Heather was saying, we have to know ourselves and know when we need help, when we need to ask for help, and when we need to look after ourselves and what that looks like. So a huge thank you to everybody for coming out tonight, and to Christine and Kendra and Heather. Thank you for your presentations. They were unique, they were creative, and they spoke volumes to the people here at this session. And it's also been recorded. Also, we have asked you to do a little evaluation of the presentation tonight. So when you log out of the virtual classroom, you'll have the opportunity to do an evaluation so that we can continually improve these sessions. Are there any questions or comments for any of our guest speakers? You can unmute yourselves now. You can either put it in the chat. Margaret gets a nap for self-care. Yes. Sleeping's overrated. Any questions for any of our guest speakers? All right. Well, I just really appreciate you coming out, and please, share virtual outreach with your community so that more of our families can reach, can access the programs that are so important. We don't always have to be near a center. Regardless of our posted location, we can access quality information and recordings like this one. So to exit out, you just click on the red X on the top right-hand side of your screen. And again, thank you so much for everything and for coming out. We'll be here if you have any questions. Hear people chatting. Oh, you're welcome, Kendra. It's a pleasure to meet you. And and I really love your spirits. Thanks, Heather. Lisa, it was great to have you here. Yes, well, there was a lot of wisdom in this room tonight. Christine? Christine, are you there? Christine? Thank you for coming out, Valerie. I'm glad we got your audio working. Thank you. Oh, Angela, you're welcome. It's so nice to have you here, Ange. You're going to make me cry.